They just dropped off a big dusty box, and today we're going to be unboxing it. Hello adventurers, and welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited about today because we're going to be looking at a brand new Setpower refrigerator. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, don't you already have a refrigerator? To which I say, yes. However, I have partnered with Setpower to share with you many of the new releases in 2025 so you guys can see what's available out there, because I have been using Setpower for a while and I love it so much that whenever they asked me if I wanted to partner with them to kind of just give fair and honest reviews and comparisons, I was like, yeah, sure. I think that there's value to that because not everybody is a one-size-fits-all fridge kind of girly. Or guy, for that matter. So today we're going to be seeing what this new fridge that they have looks like, the sizing of it, what we can put inside of it, and we're going to do a really common sense unboxing so that you guys can have the best information that's out there. So set yourself up. See how I did that? See how I did that? For some power, for some fun, and for a brand new fridge. Let's get this. Now this right here is the RF20 by Setpower. This is a mobile freezer with deep freeze and battery protection. I am very excited about this one. Now when it arrived, despite having lots of things saying this side should be up, it arrived upside down backwards. And because of that, we're going to see if the packaging inside has protected the unit. I'm pretty sure it has, but look, it's gotten beat up along the way. It was not an easy course of action to get here. Now, if you're new here, my reviews are a little bit different. I like to take a very common sense approach to having items that are functional to an everyday person. Therefore, we talk about the specs, the sizes, the temperatures, and things like that, but we also look at it from a practical standpoint. What can we actually put inside of it? How cold does it get? How long does it take to get there? So all of those things are things we will be handling on today's video as we unbox this bad boy. However, the freezer portion of that box really intrigues me because as a person who has traveled all over the country many times, I have learned that being able to have your food with you in various places, in various forms, is very important. Over the summer, I had two different units. One I was using as a refrigerator, one as a freezer, and it was the biggest game changer I have ever had on the road because it enabled me to buy cheap and take into more expensive areas and have nice meals without breaking the bank. That's a big deal whenever you're on a budget, and so today I'm very intrigued in possibly taking this along with me as an additional freezer. So let's find out what it looks like. What color is it? Is it one space? Is it two spaces? Is it split? I don't know. I haven't even seen a picture of this one, so I am going to be just as excited about this as you guys are because it's new. It's never before been marketed. So let's do this. It is in perfect condition, even after being beat up, banged up, held upside down, possibly tortured, and arrived in a slightly discombobulated way. This thing looks great. The textured top has this nice little tiny bump system on it that could be great. If I put a mat on top of this, this would hold that mat so that it insulates it a little bit more. Of course, it has the Setpower logo. We have some more packaging to come out, and then I'm going to pull this big boy out and see what it looks like. Okay, she definitely arrived a little bit dusty, so I'm just going to dust it off. It is this nice, sleek black all the way around, and I really like this. This is very cool. In fact, I think I'm going to give this one a nickname. I am going to call it the Vader. We'll start out right here. This is where you plug it in, and it has just a standard plug like all the Setpowers do. This is also where our vents are. We have both back and side vents so that it can have lots of ventilation on this one. That's going to be great, especially if this is a freezer. And so then we move up here to our handle. Ooh, this is very different on the inside. It has this raised section here. It actually has a divider, which you can put an additional like ice pack in. That is intriguing. And then it has our box filled with goodies. Most of the time, this is the cords. I'm assuming it is. We'll get to that in a moment. Now, another thing that I noticed about this one is they have gone back to the traditional lid style where you can take the lid off and you can rotate this lid so that it fits in a puzzle piece going either direction. It's a little harder to do this with one hand in the upright, but it goes kind of in like this and then it closes down so you can seal it off and pick which direction it needs to be opened on. That is huge in van life because no two vans are set up the same way. Now, why is that a big deal? Because if you're like me, you might have your van set up where your refrigerator is where your passenger seat might have used to have been. And so I might want to be able to access that from my driver's seat by opening it up so that while I'm going down the road, I can easily take a stop and open, a grab, and a go. And that way I don't lose a lot of time. However, I could also set that up where that lid opens from the outer door in the opposite direction. So when I'm outside of the van, I could easily access it that way versus having to kind of reach over and do the most. So you can change this out not only for your comfort whenever you're using it in driving mode, but also when you're in camping mode, and you can just kind of rotate it. And that is awesome. I am so happy with that. That was the one thing that I would say about the other one that I just tested out, the PT30, that I was like, I missed the lid. I missed the lid because every other Setpower I've had has had that lid. So we love that Setpower brought that back for this one. Additionally, like all Setpowers, you also have the QR right here where you can download the app for Setpower directly so you can do some monitoring of your system. The display is very clearly marked with the power, the settings, and then also the plus and minus for you to adjust your temperatures. We'll be doing that in a moment. The lid, when it is in the upright, stays in the upright. It doesn't flop over or fall back, which is great. This little area right here, this is decent. This is a good 4 fingers, so about 2 to 2.5 inches in depth, and then it's a good palm. So that's probably about 4.5 inches across right here. And then inside this section, again, you can take this out. It fits into a little slot that is part of the molded design. So if we were using this as a freezer, this would solidify hard. And that way we're not running the compressor non-stop, because once this thing gets cold, it's going to keep the internal temperature even better, which is really neat. I'm fascinated by this design. Again, I haven't seen them do anything like this before. So this is really cool. I do have to find out a little bit more about if I just put regular water in this or if it needs anything additional. I'm assuming the book will tell me on that part. Speaking of the book, it's time for us to dive into this box because I'm pretty sure both the cords and the book are in here. And typically this comes with 2 different cords. It comes with one that you can plug into a regular wall plug and one you can plug into like a DC port, which is why I like it for van life, because they already have you figured out. And it looks as though it's going to be a similar situation here. Now, as I go into here, pull it all out. This is our typical wall plug right here. It's a 2-stage system where this is the little guy who conducts all the electricity. And then we also have this one right here, which is our DC. Now, both of these can connect directly into the unit itself through the original charging hole that we talked about. It has this nice flat charging plug, which goes in there, and then it kind of just sits almost flush, not quite, but almost flush, and that keeps you from knocking it around and potentially damaging it. They also have the regular standard cord. Now, this is also different from the PT30. The PT30 went with a more flat lay cord. I do actually like that a little bit better, but they've been using these for a very long time. They're solid. I've not ever had a problem with one of them, so this is good. It's also a sizable amount of cord so that I could string this from the front to the back if I needed to. Also, if I need to connect this and then bring it outside while I'm cleaning or something, I can do that and not have to unplug it. So super handy. Now, as always, one of the reasons why I really enjoy Setpower is because they have really clear, concise directions, specifications, reminders. They have large print, so it's easy to see. They use lots of illustrations so you can better understand what it is that you're looking at. And that makes Setpower very different than others who use tiny fine print and don't use any illustrations. They are a much more user-friendly, especially beginner-friendly company. I don't know how many times that I've had a weird thing that like has been a me issue, but I couldn't figure out it was a me issue, and I've just literally gone into the book and been like, oh, I need to do this. And this is why these books are so important. I know a lot of companies do not put in the time and effort into their user manual, or they get paid by the word, I'm pretty sure. So they say something that should be just very simple, like unplug it and replug it, and instead they say, go and do this and that, and 45 minutes later, you're still trying to figure out the problem. That has never been the thing with Setpower. I've always been able to just turn to a page, figure it out, and then we're good to go. And again, most of the time it's just a me issue because I either didn't plug something in right, or I set the temperature too high or too low, or I didn't close the lid once. That was fun. That was fun. This particular style is the RF20. They do have an RF25 also. There is a slight variation in the sizing. This one is a 21.1 quart capacity and it weighs 22.1 pounds. The temperature range goes from 0 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a 12 volt DC plug-in or a 24 volt with AC adapter plug-in. It also has a special PP material, which is this material that you see on it. It is a very, very strong plastic material that keeps everything nice and insulated from the handles themselves to the strap down areas and into the inside. It is of similar material. The only thing that kind of feels a little bit different is this guy right here, which I think is a food grade plastic that they've used, and it's a little bit different consistency. Size wise, it is 13.1 inches by 24.3 inches. And so that makes it a nice space. Again, 21.1 quarts or 20 liters. So you have 13.8 by 10 by 8.5 in depth. So what does that look like when it comes to actually putting things inside this thing though? Let's find out. But before we do, don't worry. I have a few other things that'll set your mind at ease. If your box is beat up like mine was, don't worry. It says here that it should be fine as long as you leave it in the correct format of orientation. In other words, sitting down like this for 24 hours before turning it on. Now, I have definitely done that because I'm just kind of leery about anything when it comes to me looking all sideways and jacked up. So I just kind of let it settle and hope for the best. But it is nice that it also tells you that if you do this by accident or get stored incorrectly, don't worry, don't freak out. That doesn't mean something bad's going on. And just let it chill. Just let it chill. Now, for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and use the standard wall plug for just a moment so we can show how exactly this thing turns on. And then I'm going to pop out a battery and then we'll get to it and we'll be able to see how efficient this thing actually is. Okay, it's plugged in, so we're going to just hit the power button. And it has this nice, high contrast, very sleek looking display. And in order to turn it up or turn it down, it goes all the way down to -20. Oh my goodness. And then if we want to turn it up, we just hit the up arrow. And I can already hear the compressor. It's very quiet. Now you might be thinking, how is it 17 degrees in your house? It's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down this and then it's going to flash over to max. I can also put it on economy mode. I can go over to the Celsius and change it over to Fahrenheit. That's a more appropriate temperature that we're starting out on. And then after we're finished with that, we can just click the settings. And then again, we'll start seeing what this looks like in Fahrenheit. So if it goes to -20 when it comes to Celsius, that means that it goes to -4 degrees Fahrenheit, which makes a little bit more sense. I mean, it is a deep freeze, but that was like the Arctic tundra of frozen. So now that we kind of have seen the display and how it works, I'm going to go ahead and pull out a power station so we can see how much power it actually consumes while it's cooling down and how long it takes it to get to some of these temperatures that we're trying to get to. For the purpose of today's video, we're going to be using the Blue Eddy, which is at 56%, and we're going to be turning on the DC. That instantly triggers over here. So what I'm going to do is try to turn this to about what I would normally have this on if I was using it as a freezer, which would be about 28 degrees. Sometimes I will go a little bit lower than that, but on average, it's usually 28 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down and we'll see how long it takes and how much power we drop. Currently pulling anywhere between 26 and 30 watts. So that's a very good amount of power considering we're putting this into freezer mode. Timer 15, start. Starting temperature is 64 degrees. Goal temperature is, again, 28 degrees. So while that's going, so far we have already figured out that the spacing is a little bit different. They have brought back the cool lid. The plug is a plug and play system that is compatible with all Setpower systems. So if for any reason you already have a Setpower and you're looking to upgrade to a different one, the cord is the same, so you can use it for both. They have the nice molded handles, which make it a very comfortable lift. It's not so heavy that if you're a first timer or somebody who has a bit less arm strength, that you couldn't pick this up and put it into your rig, or if you needed to pull this out for preparedness at your house, you could easily maneuver it. This is going to be one of the smaller units that they do produce when it comes to the actual refrigerator freezers, but at the same time, oh my goodness, I love that it's Darth Vader. Quite time for the checkup, but also I'm doing this in eco mode, which does make a difference on how fast that it comes down, so keep that in mind. You could drop the temperature of this faster when it is not in eco mode. I just always run my fridge on eco mode because that keeps my power up a little bit higher and it keeps everything a little bit more efficient on the road when you have a little bit more limited ability to have power. Tip for you guys is if you are getting out onto the road and you're starting out at a base camp or you're starting off at a hotel or something, take it inside, get it cooled off whenever you have wall power, and that way whenever you move it out to your vehicle, you don't instantly start drawing your power away. Yeah, because that's not fun. Also, if you're driving and you have a limited amount of power in your vehicle, plug it into your vehicle itself while you're driving, and just remember to plug it into your power source once you get to your campsite. That's also a very handy tip to help you guys be a bit more efficient on the road. Those are just things that I've learned over 8 years of continuous use, and I think Setpower would definitely agree. It's about having fun on the road and enjoying yourself with convenience of things like refrigeration. Okay, we're a little bit less than 1 minute away, so I'm going to go ahead and check it out. Now, using eco mode, we only dropped about 10 degrees, but that's okay because I noticed another feature here also. Do you see where that little M is? I was reading the book, and it says that if you hold this down and then you go over to the M, there is a high, a medium, and a low setting. And so that is also another way that you can kind of modify what's coming into the unit itself. That is different than some of the others that I've tested out. That is a really cool feature. We are at 54%, so we only dropped 2 percentage points, getting it 10 degrees less with this consistently running at 27. That's pretty good. That's not bad. So this is the battery protection function, and it has a low, a mid, and a high, and it tells you the protection value and what settings that you're using. So this is very handy. There is an entire section of this in the book. I'm going to go ahead and keep it in the mid protection just because that's going to be ultimately the middle of the road. That's where it comes standard. We're going to keep it there. But you do have some additional values that you can kind of tweak to get where you need to be a little faster if you need to. Now, to the average person, what does this mean? It just means that it's going to make sure that your compressor acknowledges the battery and its level also. So if you start to get a bit lower on battery, you can drop down to L, it's going to pull a little bit less, and therefore it's going to keep you engaged with your battery, and then it's not going to have as many power off issues, which I think is really, really a good thing, because sometimes whenever you're in those crunch situations, especially during the heat of summer, for example, when it's already pulling and taxing, if you could drop it down to low, that would conserve some battery if you're on that last little bit before you can get sun the next day. That is helpful. So that's something to think about. Now that we have kind of figured this out, I'm going to let it continue to drop down in temperatures, see how long it takes to get to our desired temp. Again, we've been in there like 15 minutes at the mid in eco, and we've dropped down about 10 degrees. I'm not mad at that. That's pretty decent. After it starts to get cooler, it starts to drop much more rapidly. And after it's gotten that heat bubble out of the inside, it's usually pretty good. So I have the timer set, but we're going to check it out and we'll see what happens. So while it's doing that, I'm going to contemplate what exactly I want to try to put in here to see if it will fit so that I can give you guys a good comparison of size. Some of the refrigerators that I have checked out that have been 20 liters, they haven't been tall enough for you to put like a soda or something in. So we're definitely going to check out to see if you could upright stand a soda. With this being a freezer, I'm not probably going to be putting a soda in it, but I do want to give you something that is easy for you to be able to see on a shelf and reference when it comes to the space itself. Okay, it has ended. We are at 28 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and turn the timer off. So that got us all the way down to where we needed to be. Now let's check our power, and it looks as though 53%. So we only lost 3% of the battery cooling this thing down. This, of course, is the Blue Eddy AC70. This is a 1,000-watt power station. A 1,000-watt power station is perfect for running a fridge no matter what time of year it is. If you have anything under 1,000 watts, it could struggle just a little bit during the summer months where it's pulling a lot more like we discussed. But 1,000 watts is a good, reasonable amount of power for any kind of refrigerator. So, with that said, let's fill this bad boy up. Starting off, let's lift the lid. Now, again, I think I need to fill this up, but this thing is so cold to the touch already, and that's just with it just barely getting to that temperature. So I will be filling this guy up before using if I want to use this barrier. You do not have to use this barrier, but it is a bonus because it helps it out quite a bit. But the real question is, can I place this in here? And the answer, I think you can see, is no. This is not as tall as some of the other units. It will not close with a 2-liter bottle. Now, if I were to move that to the other side, it still will not close with a 2-liter bottle. So 2 liters cannot fit in the upright here. Now, if I removed this, could it fit laying down? Yes, it could. It could easily fit, and there's a little bit of room. I can stick maybe a finger and a half, maybe 2 fingers almost. And that's about the amount of space that you have left width-wise in the space. Now, if I were to try to go this way, it does not fit going this way. So that is a good way for you to go to your local grocery store or just look in your refrigerator and see what you have. And notice that this way, again, it will lay down. We could fit a couple of them in here very easily. But this way and this way, a 2-liter soda is just out of the question for this freezer unit. But it's not really about what we can't fit, it's what we can fit. So I make up these little tiny containers that are just like takeaway containers for my Hot Logic. These are perfect for the size of the interior of the Hot Logic. And so I have like pulled pork mac and cheese, and then I have a few others. I know for a fact that these will fit, but let's see how many of these, in addition to how many other things we can put in there. I like to use things that are more squared off because then they fit directly in and you can stack them. But there are a few loose items that tend to get put into my freezer. So I'm going to put a big, huge pork in there, like a pork butt, just to see if I can put a pork butt, 5 or 6 of these, maybe some McMuffins that I've made for the road, all of those kinds of things. Like this guy, this thing is the size of my head. Okay, let's see what we have. Ooh, a lot. We have some pork riblets over here that fit nicely that I've already pre-frozen and bagged. I have a bunch of popsicles. These are so good. They're fresh fruit popsicles. I'm going to go ahead and just start pulling some of this out and setting it over here. I also have a bunch of these. 1, 2, 3. Another one down here. 4 meals right there that are already ready to go. All I have to do is just put them in the Hot Logic and give them about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Additionally, I have some breakfast sausage. I have an entire roll of ground turkey. I also have some little pans. These have cornbread in them. I may or may not take these with me. I just wanted to freeze some cornbread. This is that entire pork butt right there, and that is a large enough portion that I could feed myself plus several friends. In fact, I had one of these for Venmo and we shredded it down and it fed us for days. So that's how large and in charge that guy is. But then under that, I have a lasagna. I also have another one of these little freeze, heat and eat meals. And then I have one more of these cornbreads. So all of this could fit into this tiny freezer. So that means that in this one freezer alone, just in the meals, I have 1 full meal, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full meals that are already pre-cooked, 2 cornbreads, an entire pound of turkey, enough breakfast sausage for 1 breakfast, enough to feed me and my friends for at least 2 or 3 days, and then a whole nother meal right here. So I could have easily at least a week's worth of frozen food in this small 20-liter, no problem. Now, is everything going to be conducive to fitting into perfect little boxes? No, but that's part of the reason why whenever I do have cooking days, I just keep a few of those containers on hand. I put everything into the correct portions, and then I let them cool and I freeze them so that they can go on the road. Or if I'm already on the road and I fix something that's huge, like this big old pork butt, and I don't want to eat that every day for days and days and days, I put it into one of the containers, I put it into the freezer, and then it's ready for the next meal or the next meal or the next meal or whenever I want to get it. So those are wonderful little handy tips for you guys that go right along with the Setpower and help you to get the most bang for your buck. Like, that's a lot for this small space. That's definitely a lot for the small space. I am impressed, and this guy is definitely going in the van for my big trip because I'm going to need to take most of these things with me. And clearly there is a lot of room for them. I hope today's video was handy to you guys who are just learning to learn a little bit more about a different refrigeration unit or freezer unit or the complex nature of van life in general. But I hope also by showing you this practical look that you can understand the space and how that it could work for you. Now remember, there is another one of these that is a slightly larger version, and it's a 24 quart, so it's going to give you a little bit more space if you do need that. But realistically, if you're using this as a freezer, this is tons and tons of room, and I was not expecting that at all. I was kind of expecting it to feel small. I didn't expect it to be like, boom, boom, another one, another one, another one. But it definitely is. As always, Setpower always has some great specials on their website, so check out setpowerusa.com. If you are on there and you are interested in one of these, never feel pressure to purchase anything just because I'm showing it. But if you do happen to like this one, use Bunny Plays Here as a code and get 16% off. I don't think you'll regret it. I am definitely going to be loading this one up into the van and heading off. I just need to coordinate some things with Riley. And then guess what, guys? We're going to be cooking on the channel because we got lots of room to put the things so that we can have some delicious things, because just because you are in a small space does not mean you can't have something tasty. Till next time, guys, remember we're not here for a long time, but we are here for a good time. I'll be seeing you. Bye.